Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Nalin. Yes, ma'am. आपके बारे में कुछ कहने ना.
Ma'am, my name is Nalin Pandey. I was born and brought up in Bhadohi, Uttar Pradesh. I did my graduation in mechanical engineering. After that, I joined steel industry for a brief period of 1.5 years. And
steel industry, can you explain?
Ma'am, I joined Monnet Ispat and Energy Limited, that is situated in Raigad, Chhattisgarh. And since 2016, I have joined CGST Department, Government of India. And currently, I am posted as Intelligence Officer and Director General of GST Intelligence.
Ah, so you're from my department. I'm also a Customs Officer. Very good. What were your optional subjects, please, in the UPSC?
Ma'am, it was Political Science and International Relations.
Okay. Political Science and International Relations. Great. Now tell me, you're from my department. What are the major areas where there has been evasion in GST?
Ma'am, one of the most evasion-prone commodities have been tobacco sector. Then there have been significant evasion in scrap sector as well by means of fake invoices in recent times. And then there are areas where mostly where raw material is being sourced from the unregistered taxpayers, because their tax has to be paid on reverse charge. So evasion is taking place in those areas.
You've only been in GST, not in customs at all?
No, ma'am, I have not been in customs.
So in GST, what is the highest rate and the lowest rate?
Ma'am, it's 28% is the highest rate and it's 0% is the lowest rate in GST.
What is the logic between for giving different rates? There was an argument that we should not give, we should not have different rates. Everything should be the same rate. What is the logic of giving different rates?
Ma'am, indirect taxation is inherently regressive because its liability comes upon everybody in the similar way. But given the complexity of Indian economy and the income differential of people residing in economy, in order to make it more progressive, different rates have been given. For instance, zero rated is for the agricultural commodities or commodities coming from natural origin, while 28% is...
No,
yes, ma'am.
Talking very fast.
As ma'am, 28% is for the sin goods and like tobacco, and the luxury goods like cars.
Tell me, how would you improve the position of ladies in your hometown, in Bhadohi? The economic position.
Ma'am, steps can be taken on many fronts, and first and foremost, the gross enrollment ratio at the primary level I will ensure that if it is not 100%, it should be. Secondly, the higher education, the participation of women, I will map out that what is the percentage, and then I will try to improve that. Thirdly, ma'am, because Bhadohi is an export-based hub of carpet industry, so in whatever capacity women can be engaged, right from weavers to the designing to the dyeing process, engagement can be done, and in that way, economic participation may be improved.
Yeah, so I see that you're from Bhadohi.
Yes, sir.
Was the name changed to some other?
Sir, it was changed to Sant Ravidas Nagar, then again it was changed to Bhadohi only.
So, what are your views on change of names of districts and towns?
Sir, I believe it's, in my opinion, it's an administrative decision which is taken by the political leadership, and if the need arises, then decision can be taken, sir.
Yeah, but you agree with the concept of the principle of renaming cities and districts?
Sir, cities can be renamed because name is specifically an area where people associate themselves with. But there are inherent costs which are related with the changing the name because the whole administrative process goes behind it. So again, there is a trade-off, and that should be seen in the context of whether there is an actual need to change the name, and that is a decision which should be taken by the political class only.
Right, so this was changed to Sant Ravidas Nagar and then changed back to Bhadohi.
Yes, sir.
So how do you explain that?
Sir, it was again a political move because when it was the one government which came and changed the name to Sant Ravidas Nagar, and then the government changed and it was again changed to Bhadohi only.
So do you agree with this way these things happen?
Sir, in both ways, Sant Ravidas Nagar commemorated the legacy of Sant Ravidas, and Bhadohi has been also been a historical name because it was related with the name of Raja Bhajraj. On his name, the city was named. So in both ways, it was historical context, and Sir, I personally believe that I was okay with both of the names.
Okay. That's a very good wording also. Now, tell you one thing, child labor in the carpet industry there, does it still occur or it's now a thing of the past?
Sir, two major factors have played role in bringing down the child labor. Sir, as per the current surveys, it's around 5 to 6% child labor is still persists, but that has come down from a relatively high 40% to 35% in 80s and 90s. Because Bhadoi has been the export-oriented market, export-oriented source region, so there was a deliberate attempt on the part of industry to project it as a child labor free activity, manufacturing activity. In that way, various rug mark and these kind of tags were invented, and they were associated with the exported consignment. And secondly, there have been significant schemes taken up, and there is a significant presence of NGOs as well in Bhadoi, which is working in this regard. So child labor is something which has been highlighted at the global level in Bhadoi Mirzapur region, and it is being taken care of in a relatively good way.
Okay, so it's now coming down.
It's definitely coming down, sir.
And I believe now there's skill development happening on how to knit carpets at the school level so that the children can learn the skills at the school level, and then later on, after passing out of school, they can then join the industry.
Sir, I believe that this is something which should be taken up with the caution, because these dynamics of child labor in Bhadoi has always been associated with the families. So while skill being imparted to children in schools, there's a chance that while going to their home, they may be engaged in the child labor at their family enterprise. So this is something which need to be proceeded with caution. But of course, skill development is always a good idea, and but that should come with an appropriate age, I guess.
See, now there is a talk across the nation that India is the mother of democracy. So how do you explain this particular articulation made by the government? On the basis of which attributes you would say that India is the mother of democracy?
Sir, democracy has been associated with Indian past since way long back. In the times of Mahajanpadas as well, there were regions which functioned on the basis of a republican system, and that is where I suppose that the notion of India being mother of democracy has come from.
Is that the only factor that goes into explaining India as mother of democracy?
Sir, another facet what I can think of is Buddhist Sanghas. They were also democratic, and Buddhism has been, the genesis of Buddhism has been purely attributed to India only. So there also, sir, there have been shades of democracy which India had taken inspiration from.
Yesterday we celebrated Republic Day.
Yes, sir.
Now, how do you look at the emergence of Republic of India? During the last 73 years. I mean, in what parameters it has certainly made a huge impact, across the world in terms of the constitutional process of governance.
Sir, India's story has been a story of success, in my opinion. At the times of its onset, when India became independent, there was doubts were casted against India's existence. But India has successfully maintained its independence. It has become third largest economy by means of purchasing power parity. It is the largest democracy in the world, and our electoral process is to be reckoned with across globe. As far as improvement in other areas is concerned, India has brought out 27 crore people out of poverty in last 15 years. So these are remarkable achievements, and India is certainly on the path of progress, in my opinion.
What was any idea? What was the literacy rate at the time of when the Republic was founded?
Sir, I need to refer it to, sir. I don't exactly remember.
Okay, actually, tell me this, G20 summit,
Yes.
India is going to host. So, in terms of India's role at the global level, How do you look at this?
Sir, G20 presidency of India has come at a very crucial juncture because world today is facing many headwinds, so ranging from rising global debt crisis to the climate change and the Russia-Ukraine war to post-pandemic effects. Overall economy and politics across globe is in shambles, and India's presidency has coming at this juncture where four countries in succession are going to be, for developing countries are going to head the G20. It definitely creates an opportunity, and India has vouched it well as well, because India has organized the Voice of Global South Summit, in which it engaged with 120 countries which were not the part of G20. So in a way, it is giving voice to the voiceless, and India's own success stories such as digitization and JAM Trinity and how it has created the whole ripple effect across economy and polity, it is being showcased in a very well way.
So I wanted to ask you, see, of late for several years, Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, much after his death, across the country, is emerged as a figure, possibly no other figure is reckoned with in our history, much after his death. So for the last 15-20 years, what is the reason behind it?
Sir, in my opinion, B.R. Ambedkar, he represented an ideology which was timeless. He stood for the people who were not represented. He gave the voice to the voiceless, and his contribution to the law in general, in the basic law of the India, which is in the form of Constitution of India, has been immense. So he, in a way, provided the guiding philosophy for country's governance, and the basic edifice of the principle which should guide the governance as a whole. In that way, his legacy is timeless, and his ideas will continue to guide the community of downtrodden in particular, and India in general.
There is a lot of debate and discussion going on basic structure of the Constitution.
Yes, sir.
People have questioned it, some people have joined the debate, disagreed with the people who questioned it. So what is the basic structure?
So basic structure doctrine was propounded by Supreme Court in landmark Keshwanand Bharati vs. State of Kerala case. It said that while Parliament's power to amend Constitution is there as per Article 368, but the power to amend Constitution is not the power to change the Constitution itself. That there are some basic edifices which are there and which should be there to.
What are those basic aspects?
Sir, few of the basic structures which have been delineated by Supreme Courts across its judgments over recent times are the rule of law, the separation of power, the division of power between state and center, the free and fair elections, and among others.
Nalin, you have graduated in mechanical engineering.
Yes, sir.
But then you forgot about it and went into political science and international relations for your UPSC subjects.
Yes, sir.
Why so much of abhorrence to mechanical engineering?
Sir, I will not term it as abhorrence, with due respect. Sir, I graduated in 2012. It was 2014 when I decided to go for the civil services examination, and at that time I felt that I would like to learn a new subject and give my examination in that subject only. I felt like political science is having greater convergence with my syllabus, and I found it interesting too. So between mechanical engineering and political science, I chose political science.
I agree. You see, we have been born and brought up in engineering. Mechanical engineering was your last. But you still thought that this is not a good option for getting adequate marks in UPSC. That was.
Sir, at that time, it was my conviction that political science is definitely a better choice for me, sir.
Okay. One more thing I want to know. We just had 26th January, because you're fond of international relations. That's the reason I'm asking this. How is 26th January relevant to other nations and other events in the world? Any idea?
Sir, may I take few seconds to think about it?
Yeah, please.
Sir, I'm not able to recall any particular event.
Okay. Have you heard of Tahrir Square?
It's a Tarili Square. No, sir, I am not able to recall right now.
Who was the chief guest in the recent 26th January celebration?
Sir, Shri Abdul Fattah al-Sisi, he's the president of Egypt.
Then you should know about Tahrir Square.
Sir, am I listening to the I'm not listening properly, sir. Square,
Kareli Square.
sir, I'm not able to recall it.
Okay. Now Sisi has been termed as the most favorite dictator. He heads a military rule. I'm not saying dictatorship. He heads Egypt, which is under a military rule. How is India? Why is India so asking him to come to our country, our nation? Because we are a mother of democracy.
Sir, in this context, it is my opinion that there is a clear distinction between our domestic political system and the way we deal with the rest of the world.
Why Sisi?
Sir, it is because Egypt is a really important country as far as international relations is concerned in today's times.
Okay.
Because sir, Egypt provides opportunity to create greater Middle East in the region, and so nearly 10% of the world shipment it passes through the Suez Canal, and Egypt is also promoting the special economic zone in Suez Canal. So,
Tell me, why should India invite a military ruler to a democracy? And what are we gaining out of it?
sir, India's national interests should guide which it should deal with or not. Whether a country is democracy or not, it should not be the guiding criteria, sir, at first. And so second, Egypt is important from the perspective of Middle East. It has a significant diplomatic outreach to nations of Middle East as well as Africa. And engagement with Egypt is definitely going to raise India's diplomatic profile and its economic interest in the region.
What is the economic interest of India in Egypt?
Sir, India's almost entire export to Europe, it goes through Suez Canal. So,
Egypt does not rule Suez Canal.
sir, Egypt is also offering many investment opportunities. India has invested around 3.15 billion in Egypt so far.
In what area?
Sir, I need to refer to it, like in what exact areas India has invested.
Are we ready to have defense deals with Egypt?
Sir, defense needs can be explored with Egypt. Sir,
Are we?
sir I'm not aware of. I need to refer to it, sir. Again.
Nalin, how do you see the foreign policy of India changing over the last 7-8 years?
Sir, India's foreign policy in last 7 to 8 years has gone to be more pragmatic, in my opinion. It has adopted a realist posture, while at the same time it has not shedded the ideological bent it traditionally had.
What was the ideological bent that it had?
Sir, we have been the civilizational state. Our foreign policy has been dictated by our civilizational ethos. Sir, for instance, in G20, the motto of G20 has been Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. So that is something, the cosmopolitanism, the humanitarian angle, these are the few. India's national interest is said to be enlightened national interest. It is not as realist as being pursued by the countries like USA or, for instance, China. So, sir, in that way, India's foreign policy contains those ideological bents.
Nalin, we can talk about things in flowery language, but I just wanted to understand very specifically, do you see any changes in terms of relationships with countries that India is kind of having, or what is guiding it, and how are they able to survive this new kind of paradigm?
Yes, sir. For instance, sir, with Pakistan, India's approach towards Pakistan has become far more realist. any terrorist attack from Pakistan has been given a befitted reply. India has boycotted the SAARC summits because terrorism has not been addressed by the Pakistan. With China, India has given significant attention to the creating border infrastructure. Many of the landmark projects have, such as Karakoram to Leh Highway, the Darbuk-Shiok to Daulat Beg Oldi Road, they have been created which are with much eye to China, because that's why they have started putting their foot like more and more incursions in the LAC region. And India's neighborhood policy has become more benevolent under the regime of neighborhood policy. India has gone for the SAARC satellite, which was then termed to South Asia satellite. India has been the first responder to many crises, such as Sri Lanka, when it faced the debt crisis in 2015. India helped Nepal to tide over its earthquake problems. So, sir, overall, India's foreign policy has been many multifarious. The diplomatic presence has been made to the region where India has not been that active, and overall policy of India in foreign affairs had been very more impactful and more intensive in recent times.
Why do you think is there a changing role of India at the world stage? What is making it happen?
So,
or is it only a narrative that we are hearing?
Sir, it is definitely not a narrative. India's economy is on rise. It is going to be, it is currently 5th largest economy in the world, and it is one of the bright spots in the overall global picture what world economy is facing today. India is going to be the largest populated country in the world in few times.
We always thought population was a bane. How come it has become a boon?
Sir, it is not a bane. It can be made boon if with the right interventions. India's demographic dividend, which is going to be, as rightly pointed out by the Honorable Prime Minister, it is going to be the Amrit Kal in the next 25 years. So, like 65% of India's population is between the 15 years to 59 years in next 25 years. So, if it is being with the right interventions, it can convert it into the high demand, the robust domestic demand, which will certainly make India a progressive country in coming times.
Do you think it's just a make-believe thing? I mean, we are talking about largest economy, but per capita income is something which probably defines the country more than being the largest economy. What is your view on it?
Sir, per capita income is definitely a decisive factor, and it needs to be worked upon. But sir, overall wealth is to be created in order to enhance the per capita income. If economy is not growing,
or is it the other way around?
Sir, economy needs to be improved. So actually, these are the two things which go simultaneously. That because people are giving skills, they are being trained, they are being given employment, and in turn, economy progresses. So, and wherever there are pockets of disadvantaged sections and vulnerable sections which have not taken the fruits of development, they should be given the requisite interventions by means of social security programs.
When you were answering for Bhadoi, you said skills should not be imparted at the school level.
Sir, I specifically talked about child labor because in Bhadoi, child labor is associated with the family enterprises.
Then that will be true for the entire scheme of things that is being thought of in NEP. Have you heard about NEP?
Yes, sir.
Education policy?
Yes, sir.
We are talking about integrating skills right from the school level, etc. In your view, then it will all lead to child labor.
No, sir. Sir, even with the child labor, I said that it should be done with the caution that there should be necessary safeguards so that this should not happen. That if a child is getting skills in the school, they are being harnessed in the family enterprise in the form of child labor, because that will impact his or her studies. Because I was taking a note of caution before going for skill development.
Last question. How do you see the what changes do you want to bring in India? Is social fabric more important or economy?
Sir, both of the things are equally important in my opinion, because if we are promoting one over the other, both are going to go down. So both of the things go hand in hand.
So one little follow-up question from.
Yes, sir.
You said that you've asked answered sometime back that the Indian economy is number 3 in the world in terms of purchasing power parity.
Yes, sir.
What is purchasing power parity?
Sir, purchasing power parity refers to the quantum of money which is needed to buy a particular basket of commodity. So, like a basket of commodities, if the currencies of different countries are compared in that context, it is called purchasing power parity.
So, for example, if the Indian rupee, if $1 is equal to say 75 rupees right now, it's not relevant then to purchase power parity, the exchange rate.
Sir, actually, between the exchange rate and purchasing power parity, the major difference is the cost of living. That if cost of living in America, in USA may be different than cost of living in India. So that brings purchasing power parity greater in India, and that is why.
Right. So if a hamburger in America costs, say, $10, and in India it costs, it should then cost $700, 700 rupees, but it actually costs say 500, then what would be the purchasing power parity here?
Sir, I think it's a mathematical calculation will go on then. Accordingly 500 rupees will be the cost of living, and in that sense, if it is being compared, then virtually Indian rupee gets stronger when we are comparing in terms of purchasing power parity.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Nalin, would you wait outside for a few minutes?
Definitely.
We'll call you in.
Yes, ma'am.
I think you have a very good personality. Your get up is good, your look is good, you're very confident. So that's plus side of it. And as ma'am said, you have a very bright chance of getting into civil service of your choice. When is your interview date?
Sir, it is not
Not start. 10th of March. So I think you have enough time now. And it is important for you to, brush up a little more on the areas suggested by ma'am and others. See, for instance, on the issue of India as a mother of democracy, you did refer to panchayat system, which is very, very ancient. Okay, so that's very critical point. Okay, and then you could have also said that we have these traditions which represent the grassroots democracy. For instance, panchayats, which got enshrined in the constitution, through 75th Amendment or whatever amendment. Okay, and then there are many other attributes. For instance, if you read the last speech of Dr. B.R. Ambedkar in Constitutional Assembly, please read that speech time and again. He refers to, you write him and refer to Buddhism, Buddhist Sanghas. There he says there was a tradition of democracy. So therefore, there are many other things. For example, right to vote was there. This is of course not well known. When Gandhi was there in South Africa, he was coming back, and then he saw a news item that Indians would be deprived of the right to vote, which was given to them. Okay, so then he wrote several articles saying that the right to vote that existed in India precedes the Anglo-Saxon tradition. Okay, right. So these are things, but then other, CCC panchayats, right to vote, Buddhist Sanghas, there are, procedures adopted. For instance, the quorum was being followed. The idea of quorum was there in the many other organizations. How to take forward the business of the different organizations. So these are things which need to brush up, because there's a big, stand taken by India on the question of India as a mother of democracy. Similarly, other questions I asked about Ambedkar, why much after his death he has emerged as a figure surpassing even Gandhi, Nehru and many others. The idea is that there is a huge consciousness that has emerged among the subaltern classes. Subaltern classes. Okay. So, all those articulations were made by Ambedkar much before such consciousness emerged. See, the caste question, etc. Look, in Tamil Nadu, Ambedkar figures in the speech of the governor. Okay, Tamil Nadu actually, the Dravidian movement didn't actually embrace Ambedkar in 1920s when it started. So this is, what I'm suggesting is, go through some of the critical writings. I would suggest, look at the articles published in Wired, Scroll. They are critical of the government, but don't go by that. But it is rigorously researched articles. It will be fakes. Very rigorous. You don't publish an article unless it is rigorously researched and they don't get the sources for the article. I write for the wire. They ask me for the sources. Without sources, they won't publish it. They don't mention the sources, but this is what I'm saying is. So this take the facts. You don't have to be critical of the regime or any government. So these are the things. And the other thing which I forgot, basic structure. Please go through Kesavananda Bharati judgment. It's now available online. You don't have to go to library. There they have said, even some 7-8 parameters, even much before secularism entered the preamble, through 42nd Amendment, but there is even secularism is the basic structure of the Constitution. So what you said was, not exactly the same thing, but we are not testing the knowledge of yours, but your basic awareness. So these are the things which need to brush up so as to make yourself much more impactful than what you have done today. You have a huge chance, and much greater scope of improving. But you have done well. So all the best.
Thank you.
You're very good. You're very good. You see, the purpose of me asking you a little off the question was to put you off the track.
Yeah.
To make you a little nervous to this thing. You took it very well. You're good. I have only one thing. Be bold. क्या है इसमें? मैंने मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग किया है लेकिन छोड़ दिया मैं. मुझे लगा कि मैं इसमें ज्यादा स्कोर करूंगा. क्या परेशानी है? Be yourself. Honest. देखो सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट ऑनेस्टी क्या होती है कि पैसे नहीं मांगे किसी से. पहले ऑनेस्ट दिमाग में होगा.
Yeah, exactly.
Anup, just to
are you getting my point?
take it forward, something, this would be a question you be asked in every interview that you face. Then why did you quit mechanical engineering and come into pol science and international relations? The answer will have to be a little more robust. Because the thing is, was this thing subsidized, your education? The engineering you did?
No, sir.
It was a private college?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Then that still, makes it easy for you. Otherwise, people who say study from IIT, which is subsidized, they are denying somebody the seat, somebody the admission, and especially if they're coming to government, and not pursuing engineering thereafter. So they're hard put to explain why they changed the stream, depriving somebody else of the admission, which is very, is scarce in the country.
Yes, sir.
So you'll have to be very robust with your answer as to why you shifted.
Straight. This is what it is. Be honest, completely honest. Don't worry.
There was an apologetic.
No, don't be apologetic. You have to be an officer of the government of India, needs to take decisions. Correct?
He's already an officer.
That's what I'm saying. No, you are already, but when you go to the IAS, you have to take decisions larger than what you have to take now. Correct?
Yes.
Now, for instance, for your information, 26th January is an Australia Day.
Yes.
Anti-colonialism. You're fond of international relations. That's what I'm telling you.
It's also International Customs Day.
Oh, that should happen.
And the Tariq Square I'm talking about because it happened on 26th of January.
In Egypt.
That's Arab Spring.
Yes, sir. Actually, with the name I was not able to remember properly. I thought like it is somehow related to the Arab
No problem. Can't be expected to know
But
anything.
you're good. You just need to get, be bold, be focused, be honest, be truthful, be straight.
Focus.
Exactly would kind of second what he's saying, that be who you are. That is very important. Don't try to give answers which look like formed from somewhere else. Otherwise, you're very good. But form your views more strongly.
Yes.
There have to be clearer views, which then give the impact. मतलब general तो सबको पता है कि social fabric और they are all similar. Both need to go hand in hand. Both names are similar. They also need to go hand in hand. All that is fine, but there has to be a view that you have. So I think those views should be well formed. That will have an impact. Because as he rightly said, you are going to be the senior officer of the government and you would be taking decisions. There have to be certain views based which you will be kind of ideologies, certain this thing. So to my mind, try and observe things that are happening around you more and keep questioning them in your own mind. Why are they happening? Why did they call somebody from Egypt? What is the reason? These are questions. So a questioning mind takes up knowledge far more. We are all in the same environment, 24 hours of the day. But as government servants, what I interact with them, they have gathered far more than many others would, because I think they're questioning all the time. So I think that needs to happen so that you have more well-formed views. And ये मैकेनिकल इंजीनियरिंग छोड़ के पोल साइंस लिया हो तो नंबर पोल साइंस में ज़्यादा आते इसलिए लिया है और तो कोई रीज़न ही नहीं होता मतलब we all have people on this other side also have children your same age, right? I mean, so they go through this every day. So what he's trying to say is be authentic in what you are saying.
Yes.
And if you have taken that and then there is interest which has got developed, that should get reflected then. For example, if you've taken international affairs, then it should reflect.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
You will be asked about your 10 kilometer run.
Yes, sir.
Also table tennis. So when your date comes to the interview,
Yes, sir.
a month before that, read the papers very thoroughly and then find out the reason as to why those news items are there in the first place. What is behind them? Study the thing thoroughly because they'll be fresh in the minds of the panelists. We'll be asking questions on that. Like he asked a question on Comic Day. So similarly. Now lastly, why don't you shave off a beard?
Sir,
Not really recognizable.
sir, to tell the truth, sir, I was on the raid on the day when I filled the form. We were on like 48 hours and it was going on.
Yeah.
You
Because
didn't have a time to shave.
yes, sir.
This is your 2-day beard?
No, sir. Actually, sir, it was. I would have sir gone for shaving, and then clicked up the photo and then uploaded the form. Usually, sir, beard के लिए इतना issue नहीं होता है सर. वहाँ पे uniform shooting नहीं है DCJ में. तो मुझे ऐसा shave कराना चाहिए ना. Then I should have gone to fill up the form because
I was just wondering that. I thought
You
probably
look very stylish on beard also. What's the problem?
Please don't have a beard when you go for the interview. Have you any questions for us?
Ma'am, जैसे the question was on Bhadohi and Santara Vidashnagar. Actually, sir, it was a purely political decision.
No, I know.
Mayapati government has taken decision to change it to Santara Vidashnagar and then Akhilesh Yadav government.
Yes.
So, sir, taking one side while on the political question, is it right for me to say that I want Bhadohi like more or?
No, I'm not saying what you like. I'm
Be
saying
truthful. Be honest.
is it something which is
Otherwise, you're faking. I would say you're
a good
faking.
thing to happen? That you keep changing the name, you change the name and then again rechange it few years later.
And I think he was asking whether you are with the ideology of changing names. So there are a lot of other name changes that are happening. I don't think he was intending to only ask
Yeah.
about this specific name change.
General.
He was generally saying, like, for example, all the name changes that are happening, right from Rajpath to Kartavya Path, and all of those name changes that are
So
happening.
what's your view on that?
What is your view on that?
You must have a view.
Does it kind of add
And
to
what's
the
the reason
social
for it?
fabric? Or what is it? Why is it happening?
Sir,
No, sometimes.
sir, to tell you truth, sir, there is definitely at some point there is definitely a terminal agenda is there because sir, Allahabad is as much Allahabad as it is Prayagraj. Like the history of the both sides are there. So while names being changed to one side, it is definitely impacting whatever we see where they say it is going to impact the psyche of people.
No, but that is true. That is true. That is why it is being done. But forget the communal angle, but the social fabric has an impact. How we look at things, how we view them, how do we understand them, all has some impact on us, right? And that is the reason why name changes are happening. There's no doubt about it. But question is, do you have a view that does it really change the social fabric of a country? Does it make people think differently? Does it make people act differently? So I think those are questions that you should have a view on.
Yes.
Right or wrong, plus minus, hona chahiye, nahi
You should
hona
have
chahiye,
you should have your arguments for it.
arguments for it. For example, if I was given this thing, I would say it's a brilliant thing that is happening. to me it is wonderful that it is happening. There is a certain mindset within which we are all living. We need to come out of that mindset, and for those mindsets to happen, names and all these things have an impact on us.
Okay.
For example, I'm not saying that's the right answer, but everybody will have.
There are no answers here. We are looking for your views. Properly argue, facts properly marshaled, and say this is what my view is.
Did you gain something from this?
They're different.
Or it was just a.
Yes, sir. Like I said, on IR front, I need to be more diligent. So I'm brushing up my concepts. So it is my second mock interview. And I'm brushing it up. And hopefully within 50-20 days, I'll be
I'm sure you will do. Madam,
You do very well.
More closer.
Just remember to focus on what exactly was asked, and think a bit before you speak. Don't just Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
All the best.
All the best. Do well.
All the best.
Lots of luck.